to another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. It's your host, Eddie Arnell, my man, G. Witt.
Tighten up, baby. Tighten up.
J. Lou.
Yes, sir. Tighten up, baby. Tighten
up. What's going on, Jim? Look, G. Witt is like a little kid waiting on Christmas, man.
Exactly right,
A little bit over a week before training camp starts, and
smell the grass, baby. You can smell the grass.
Smell the grass. Yeah, exactly right, man. It's exciting times. The Veterans Report and man, it's coming up the 26th, right? G. Witt, that's right. That's July 26th, Rookies Report. The 23rd,
the Vest Report.
And the Vest Report. And fellas, we have been breaking down. If you've been riding with us the last few shows, we've been doing our position breakdown, which we do every year. And we've talked about the DBs, the receivers. And last week, we talked about the tight ends, the linebackers, offensive, defensive line, the foundation of the football team, if you will, the interior line. So this week, gents, we're going to finish it up by talking about the quarterback and the running backs, right? So a lot of talk, a lot could be said for these two positions. And as we look at it, if you go back to last season, guys, how these two positions, progressed. Derrick Henry, they were running him into the ground, if you will. He was tons of carries early on, over 900 yards, and it led the NFL for a while, even after he got hurt, right? Mm-hmm. So he's coming off of a significant injury to his foot. And Ryan Tannehill, he had a season that, he left a lot of things on the table. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah.
And so that's being nice. And so, him and Todd Downing in their first season together, and, it was kind of mind-boggling because he came off of 2 seasons, where he was playing lights out football. He made comeback player of the year. They were talking about MVP last season potentially because he had the weapons finally and this and that and that. But J. Lou, man, this backfield. Let's start with the quarterback, man, because we'll get into the running back situation in a minute. But let's start with the quarterback position. What we saw last season. Just brief recap, and then what we got going forward for 2022.
Yeah, so I think the one silver lining we saw last year, Tannehill played all 17 games. Before he came to the Titans, that was kind of the knock on him. Right. A couple of injuries the last couple of years he was there with Miami, and he's been durable for us while he's here. So that's probably a plus because as I've been saying since I've been a part of the show, I think J-Rob is allergic to the backup quarterback position because after they got Tannehill and had him as backup Mariota, we've been riding that Logan Woodside train since.
Choo-choo.
And I don't know about y'all, but I haven't really seen that it has me comfortable with Logan in the game through preseason, and somehow he made the team yet again. Well, he signed yet again. So this team goes as Tannehill goes, and again, last year he had a lot of obstacles. If you've been listening to the show the last couple of weeks, we really I think we're all in consensus where we think the tight end group this year can help Tannehill probably get back to what we saw in 2020, that in 2019, right. Those versions of Tannehill, because every QB needs their protection from that standpoint, that security blanket. So I've been riding and saying that you heard him come out in the off season and talk about just where he was at from a mental standpoint after the Bengals game and getting therapy and going through all that, and you never know what all was going on. I keep harping on the fact of I go back to that first press conference he had last year discussing getting the COVID shot and all, and you just mentally nobody knows how he was going through that. I mean, we kept hearing, and G. Witt has already said it this year. If we start to hear it, the red flags up. But we kept hearing all training kept long, throwing interception here, throwing interception there, throwing interceptions, and we knew the defense was improved, but it was something to that because that carried over to the season. I mean, every game we lost, I think Tannehill threw 2 or 3 interceptions, and some of the interceptions were just mind-boggling. Like, what color are you looking at to throw it? So you hope that he's gotten back. He's been in the lab with Todd Downing and my passing game coordinator Tim Kelly, and really trying to get something together because the best version of Tannehill includes play action pass. Yeah. I think that we saw that's the best ball that he can throw. So if we can get that stabilized, and you've seen him working with the wide receivers and be able to really get chemistry. We talked about chemistry a lot last year, and the only chemistry he lost, let's just be honest, is AJ Brown. because he really, and if we want to really be honest and take another step, I think he got more chemistry with NWI than he had AJ Brown because
That's
NWI
true.
was available.
Yeah.
So you still got him coming back. So I think we can see that build. I mean, I think good things could be on the horizon if we can see that Tannehill get back to that 19 and a 20 version of it.
And as G Witt always eloquently puts it, Ryan Tannehill, it's the same Ryan Tannehill we saw in Miami where he couldn't win a big game. But G Witt, let's talk about this quarterback room. As J. Lou mentioned, Logan Woodside, he somehow he's the favorite backup at this point. And nobody has been able to dethrone him from that role just yet. And so let's talk about this quarterback room, Chief.
What you got to look at with Logan Woodside, and we all know it. The bottom line is everybody else they've brought in, nobody has really outperformed him. They had Barkley in here last year, and you thought he might be the one, and he laid an egg. Everybody seems to lay eggs against Logan Woodside for some reason. Uh-huh. He's almost like the Ryan Fitzpatrick of backup quarterback. People come in and they just can't play good while he's around, man. It's weird. But no, seriously, with this quarterback room, man, this is going to be interesting this year. Tannehill did take a step back. We saw Miami Tannehill last year. Mm-hmm. We're hoping, like you said, J. Lou, for him to come back to that 2020 Tannehill or 2019 Tannehill, where, again, it's going to be incumbent upon Todd Downing to put the play action pass back in the forefront of the offense. What was it? 71% of the time we ran it in 2020. Mm-hmm. And I think we dropped down to like maybe 30 last year. Mm-hmm. That just doesn't work. Tannehill was forcing the ball a lot last year, making bad reads. So this year you're hoping, again, going back to what J. Lou said, he doesn't have a lot of excess hanging over him with COVID or anything like that. He's got time to work with the receivers that he's going to have, with the exception of maybe Robert Woods. Mm-hmm. But like you said, NWI was there last year, so he can build a rapport with him. Plus the tight ends being better this year is going to help him out a lot. But the biggest thing he's going to do is going to come on Todd Downing and Tim Kelly. They're going to institute that play action pass for him, man, because that's his bread and butter. Arthur Smith recognized it early and used it often because that's what he functions the best, and it gives him the best amount of time to make his reads and to make his throw. When Ryan Tannehill has time, he throws the ball. He drives the ball. You got to give him his props for that. Mm-hmm. But when you just got him going straight back, it's just not his game. And Todd Downing has got to get that into his head that Ryan Tannehill is not just a drop back quarterback. He needs that extra action in order to give him a little bit more time to get his feet set and be ready to throw the ball. And that's what he didn't have last year. And granted, he had a lot of problems. He was second in the league with sacks. That was a big issue also. So the O-line has got to be better. The tight end blocking has got to be better. But most of all, they have got to reinstitute that play action pass, man, because that's really what keeps him upright. He went from throwing single digit interceptions in 2020 to throwing 14 last year. And his quarterback rating was back down to what he had in Miami. He was just being Miami Tannehill. That's all it is. Right. So we're going to see what's going to happen. But it's more to me on Todd Downing and Tim Kelly than it is on Ryan Tannehill. They got to put him in a position to make his best plays, and that's what they have to do.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. And I also agree that the offensive line has got to be better too, right? Like you said, yes. He was second in the league with sacks at 47. And Burrow was sacked more at 51. And you're right, G. He did drop down to his Miami days, his quarterback rating at 55.9, one of his lowest that he had. He was at 48, 45 in Miami, 48, 49. And so, in those times, he was getting sacked a lot as well, 58 times one season, 46 another. So You're right. You got to put him in a better position. How many times have we said it on this show? You got to be able to put your players in the best position to win, especially knowing their strengths, right? He's a mobile quarterback who can get on the edge and create things. He can either run it, tuck it and run it, or he can throw off the play action and roll out. And so, like you said, G. Witt, he went from 2 seasons actually back-to-back with single-digit interceptions to double last season. He doubled the output from 2020, if that. And so, is this going to be incumbent on Downing and Kelly? And I think, and I hope that Tim Kelly has that same effect as Swartz did on the defense. getting that offensive passing game going, and down and not being so stingy and stubborn and not run play action more. Because that guy, what we saw last season, him run a lot of long routes, and we heard that before he came in. He liked to run those long routes and do those type of things. And this team is just not that type of team where you can got those receivers that can just blaze down the field. You got to have play action. You got to do some things and get guys open and scheme guys open. And so, it is what it is. Our backup is Logan Woodside. There's nobody else right now that I can think of. I don't know if you guys can that would even push to be the backup behind Tannehill, or even put heat on him to unseat him at this point. Because we know we all agree Malik Willis will not be ready this season. I hope nobody out there thinks he will be. Because out of the type of system he played in. And speaking of Willis, let's go ahead and look at him, guys, because he started off at the University of Auburn. Was there 2 years and couldn't crack the lineup, and transferred and went to Liberty, where he really shined. 2250 passing in 2020, and then almost 3,000 yards in 2021, 27 touchdowns, 12 picks, 151 rating for him. A lot of damage on the ground for Mr. Willis, almost 1,000 yards in 2020 and over 800 yards in 2021. So big mobile kid, good, strong arm. G Witt, man, what does he bring to the table for the Titans?
Well, you just named it all, really. Mobile and good, strong arm. Those are, as we said during the draft process, he had the best arm talent coming out of the draft this season out of all the quarterbacks. The problem you're going to have with him, he has a lot of things you got to work on. So it's going to be incumbent upon Pat Sullivan, the QB coach, to work all those things out to where he can be consistent. I think he's the type of guy that he definitely is going to be a project this year. Everybody who's thinking they're going to throw packages in there for him to run the ball and everything, I just don't see it happening, because really what they want him to be is that guy who's actually going to take Ryan Tannehill's place. And we all know that it's the hardest position to fill, the QB. I mean, it's usually luck of the draw or whatever the case may be, but it's going to be interesting to see how he comes out. The talent is there without a doubt. The talent is there. I think the mentality is there as far as his work ethic is concerned. The question is going to be, can they get his mechanics straight, and can he pick up on the NFL defenses, reading them quicker, coming out of a spread offense? You guys know how I feel about that. A lot of times guys come out, they're just not ready to read defenses or anything like that. And that's going to be one of the things that's going to have to happen with him, being ready to read a defense, get the ball out quick, and get it out accurately. That's going to be the other problem. How accurate is the throwing going to be? I mean, what was he, like 62% last year, something like that, 61 on as far as completion percentage was concerned. He was 64, I think, the year before. So he has got to improve on his accuracy. It's a lot to throw on him, but again, he's in a good spot because Tannehill is there. And if Tannehill goes down, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say 9.9 times out of 10, we're going to see Logan Woodside.
Unless something drastic happens in camp, I agree with you. Unfortunately, I agree, but that's true.
We're going to see him.
J. Lou, man, let's look at Malik Willis, because some might say he's the second coming of Aaron McNair. I'm not saying he is Aaron McNair or another version of him, but he could be a if you will, 2.0, right?
Yeah, and you was in my head, because I was about to say the same thing. Everybody wanted to compare him a little bit to Mac 9, the last great one we probably had here. And if I remember correct, and G Witt, you are the football historian. I believe McNair set 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, behind Chandler. So, and you just think about the rookie QBs we've had. We saw Marcus kind of go in early and had some flashes, but struggled. Mr. Jake Hurtlocker, he's not bringing that up. I mean, I retired him early. And then VY was a product of, coaching staff and just going in early. So, I think that Vrabel being a players type coach in the system we run, Tannehill's in a position where we all know that unfortunately, Derrick Henry is going to get 350 carries. Hopefully they can cut it back a little bit, but this team is going to run the ball. So to your point that G Witt made, it gives Willis a great opportunity to sit back. As a fan, I'm hoping we see him play 65 to 70% of the time in preseason, because that'll be the perfect time to get everything in for him. You know, the turnovers and all, that's good teaching moments. And then have him be right there on the sidelines. You know, it's unique because most teams don't carry 3 quarterbacks. But again, as you both have said, I don't see Woodside going anywhere from being the backup. So, you know, this could be a chance where we see the team carry 3 QBs and Willis is just inactive every game day. But inactive also means that you would see him with, you know, the earpiece in, the headset on, and just really learning. That's what you want to see him do. So I'm interested to see him in camp, especially since we have 2 camps that will be going against 2 different teams just to get him. I mean, he's going to learn real quick. I mean, one thing about Willis, and you know, I think one of his better comps, more recent comps, is probably Lamar Jackson. And I think Lamar Jackson is starting to figure out. Lamar is still a tremendous athlete, but he's starting to figure out that, you know, the defenses in the NFL are fast.
Right.
You might be able to get some of them, but they're going to catch up to you. And you know, Willis might be able to get a couple of them, but he's going to learn real quickly that them linebackers are faster than they were with the ones he was playing against at Liberty. So, you know, you want from a health standpoint, you know, you saw Lamar take some beatings last year, and I think that's the one thing that you don't want to see Willis rush into, because I'm curious to see them as well get him comfortable in an NFL system where run needs to be his last option. Let's let you see him go through the first read, the second read, and even the third read. Go through those reads before you decide to take off. But yeah, I agree with you, G. With at first, you know, everybody was thinking that you would see packages. I just don't see if we see a package, it's called the King Cat with Derrick Henry playing quarterback like we've seen. I don't see them bringing him in off the bench to do that, which I think again is a smart thing to do, because you don't want him, you know, the gadget plays need to be far and few in between, and you don't need that to be what we focus on. Rather, let's just get him, you know, right. But again, I literally want to see him play as much time as he can in the preseason, especially coming from, you know, Liberty. No knock on him, but you know, Liberty's not playing SEC type caliber teams every week. So just to be able to get him in that, and everything we've heard from all accounts, he's been, I mean, when you hear him speak, he's very well matured as a QB, and he sounds like he's a student of the game and trying to learn what he can. So I look forward to really seeing him in training camp and just seeing him go through the progression. But yeah, I think this is a red shirt year for him, with the hopes being that, you know, they do enough where next year he's ready to take over. Because I foresee Tannehill, good or bad, this could possibly be his last year, just because you can get cheaper. What do we talk about every show we've been talking about? Right. A lot of these teams right now going the route where they're building their team on the quarterback's contract being cheap. And if we can get him right this year to go in next year with that cheap one, then you can build around him and still continue to make a run.
Right. And go ahead, G.
I'm all honesty. I don't necessarily disagree with J. Lou on that one, but I will say this. I think what they would like to have happen, in all honesty, because again, I started thinking about QBs in the NFL, man, how hard it is to find a good, solid QB in the NFL. I mean, the perfect example, in all honesty, is New England when they had Tom Brady. How many backups did they go through? Man. And the only one that's actually playing, and they're trying to get rid of him, is Jimmy G.
That's right.
You know, none of them played well anywhere they went. Right. So that just lets you know how hard it is to find a good QB. In all honesty, I think if Tannehill plays good this season, I think they try to figure out a way to keep him for one more.
Yeah.
And even though I understand where you're coming from, Eddie, but even though I don't know if that would happen. Yeah. I think what they would like to see is that happen, and have Malik be the number 2 guy instead of the number 3, and that still gives him opportunity. He's going to play. He's going to get in the game some. If it's a blowout or if we're getting killed, one of the two, he's going to get in the game. Or the packages may come into play then. But I think they would rather have Tannehill for at least 2 more years to try to get Malik ready before he tries to take over.
So yeah, if we see 3 contract extensions this season, I'll agree. I'll stand by and agree with that one.
The czar of the cap has spoken. Y'all listen now.
If you can get 3 extensions to work out on that, then I think money-wise, to your point, you can squeeze them in another year and still be in great shape on the cap.
Yeah. That's the only thing I was saying. G Wit is the money situation is gonna make it hard. Yeah, I know. I would say keep him too, because like you said, there's nobody out there a veteran that could take this team to the next level. This is my opinion. Who's available, right? Unless you make some kind of blockbuster trade. And then the quarterback class next year is going to be a good one, another good one. And so you don't go back and you draft another guy, right? Because you just drafted your guy this last draft. And so if they can make the money, to your point, J. Lou, work, then I think we see Tannehill back for another season. Now, after that, who knows? Who knows after that? So appreciate all the comments and the questions coming in. Let's take a look at some of them and see. Dr. Stokes. Congratulations, Dr. Stokes.
That's
Dr.
right.
Stokes. He said, better schemes for Tannehill are great, but Jimmy G proves you can be in a great scheme and still be mediocre. That's no lie there.
Facts.
That's facts.
There's no argument there.
That's facts. If you go back to last season when San Francisco was playing us, we owe that game to Jimmy G to be
exactly
truthful about it.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out who he was going to when Jack Rippon made that interception.
Right. Leon says we will win this year. I appreciate you joining the show. Will says Malik definitely needs to work on his passing to the left. His clip shows some inaccuracy when he was thrown in May. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely that. So, guys, the quarterback position, it is what it is at this point. Like we said, unless we see something dramatic happen in the preseason, Tannehill's a guy, Logan Wilson is his backup, and Malik is just going to be learning at this point. Yeah. And so let's go to the running backs, man, because we all know we're going to start off with the king, Derrick Henry. So just looking at it, man, but before last season, he was over 1,000 yards for 3 straight seasons, averaging 4.9, 5.1, and 5 yards per carry, respectively. 12, 16, 17 touchdowns. Still had double-digit touchdowns last season at 10. And so, he was doing work. Had 303 carries in 2019, 378 in 2020, and had 219 in 8 games in 2021. And so, fellas, we all agree that the king coming in this year, he's got a lot to prove. He's on a mission. I don't know if he'll win the comeback player of the year, but he's on a mission to prove that he still got a lot of juice in the tank. Oh, yeah. I think the bulletin board material that Jonathan Taylor is the best back in the AFC South, if not the league, is going to inspire him. So he's not going to say it. Of course, he's not that type of player, but we all know what he brings to the table. And J. Lou, man, we know the king is going to be ready. You've seen his workout video. You see he's back at full speed. Looks like he's gotten bigger. I don't even know if that's possible for him, but at the size that he is already at running back. One thing that I like about him too, J. Lou, and I'll let you go, is that if you look at the past few seasons that the king had, he's been working on his hands. His receiving targets have been going up. And so we all agree, we said 1,500 yards rushing, about 350 receiving. That's going to be a great year for the king in 2022.
Man, hands down, that's exactly what I was going to say. That is a
sorry, man.
No, you're good. That's a comeback season winning formula right there. Especially 1,500 yards, and I'm sure the pipe dreams out there. Everybody want 2,000. 2,000 to me it's achievable, yes, but I really don't want to see him get it, because to me 2,000 means that we've given him too many carries.
That's right.
And I think we just need to scale back his carries. Now you're hoping that Hassan Haskins could be the missing link. And again, I said it when they drafted him. I'm glad we went away from the change of pace, speedy back that we thought we needed as a backup. I think that was a blessing in disguise. Derrick Henry getting hurt last year, and we see him with my guy that was doing for him that filled in. Foreman. We saw what Foreman did, and they kind of had that 1-2 punch in the playoffs as well. So I think that kind of changed the philosophy of the Titans, thinking that we needed a shifty back. And let's just be honest, we ain't had luck with them since they tried to get Deion Lewis with that type of running back. So I'm glad to see them have Haskins, who is a junior version of Derrick Henry, but still likes to run over folks. He runs with an attitude. And the Big Ten, they build running backs out of that conference between that Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State. You got some good running backs in that conference. So you're hoping that he can take some of the wear and tear off Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is the only player that I don't think need to participate in the preseason, because I think we know what he's going to come to do. And Eddie, you say he looks bigger. I feel like he looks bigger and scary that he went away from the ponytail dread. Right. The dreads.
He loosened up the dreads.
When he loosened up the dreads, he just he's so wide, man. It makes no sense. But I'm like you. he's that quiet. He's become a little bit more vocal with the team, but still a quiet leader when you talk about being in the press. And also, he's hearing all the naysayers say, you're 28 years old, 29, running backs take a step back. You're coming off your first major injury. Jonathan Taylor's gonna. That's fuel for the fire. And I'm like, I think he's coming out with something to prove. And again, I think the thing that's going to be unique is how are teams going to stop him? Because I think all 31 teams in the NFL know right now that we're giving the ball to 25 times a game and running it down your throat. Can you stop it? And that's, you want to see the one thing I'm curious to see with him coming off the injury, the difference that separates Derrick Henry is that breakaway speed when he gets to that second and third level.
Right.
So, we saw that when he was out, that some of those 40-yard runs that Foreman had would have been a 65-yard touchdown with Derrick Henry. So that's the one thing I'm going to keep an eye on to see, if he lost a step there. But I'm like you, I think from seeing the workout videos and some of the stuff that he's doing on heels that you shouldn't be doing, I think he's ready to play.
Gee whiz, man. Tell me about the beast coming in this season.
I have to just go along with what you all been saying, man. The one thing you want to do is try to minimize his carries a little bit. I mean, everybody was bragging about this game, week 14, and Derrick Henry is still leading the league in carries. I'm like, dude, that's not a good thing. No, that's not a good thing. When he's been out since the week 8, that was not a good thing. But the thing about it is, I agree with you. Derrick Henry is going to be the workhorse. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And here's the thing about it, and this is where again I go back to Todd Downing. He's got to get the passing game going, man. Yes. He's got to. Or else what you're going to see is what we saw from a lot of teams. They're going to be 10 men in the box. 10 men. They're going to dare you to throw the ball. So Todd Downing is going to have to change his offensive philosophy from what he was running last year to being a bit more creative. Again, going back to the play action, getting receivers getting open, tight ends getting open, and giving opportunities to loosen up that defense in order to create those running lanes for Derrick Henry, and as well as Hassan Haskins. I think Hassan Haskins is probably going to be a good, like you said, 1-2 punch for the Titans, mainly because he could come in, give Derrick Henry a spell, and you don't lose your identity. Right. You know what I mean? And he's got decent enough hands. He doesn't have great hands, but he got decent enough hands to catch the ball out of the backfield and make something happen. He's not the fleet-footed type of guy. He's not going to make a whole lot of people miss, but when he can run you over. I mean, you're talking about he's got a decent stiff arm. He ain't got a Derrick Henry stiff arm. So DBs are going to have trouble against him because he will lower his head and take him out. But that's going to be the key for him, man. If Todd Downing can change his offensive philosophy for this season and create something with the play action pass for Ryan Tannehill and people can get open, that's going to loosen up that defense, and that's going to allow Derrick Henry to go down to running the ball, as we said, between 20 and 25 times a game. Getting he's probably going to, if he averages 5 yards, 4.5 yards a carry, he's going to get close to 100 yards with every game. That's what you want to see. You want to see him spending time with Hassan Haskins and Dontrell Hilliard coming in to spell both of them. You saw he can run between the tackles as well. So again, what you want to do, we're a running team. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We want to be a running team.
Right.
Bottom line, though, is you got to be able to loosen up that defense in order to create those running lanes. You can't run against 10 men in the box. I'm sorry. It's not possible.
Right.
I'm just going to be honest with you. It's just not.
It's not.
And he faced that a lot. I mean, 9-10 men in the box. And that's the struggle he had. And even against Cincinnati, I mean, some of them plays that were so predictable. I mean, they just shot the gap because, you can only block so many. You only got so many offensive linemen and tight ends. So
when you continue to run the same formation and run the same play
all the time, and so that's what I'm saying. What we're talking about with the QB and with the running back position, Todd Downing has got to change what he did last year, man. He's got to. If not, we may win. We're going to win games, I think. But the bottom line is when the rubber meets the road and it gets down to the heat of the moment, that's when you're going to see us falter because Todd Downing is not going to be creative enough or not going to be a good enough play caller. to make a difference. Last year he didn't have a feel for the game, so we're gonna have to see this year if he has a better feel for the game or not.
Right. And so, you make some great points there. And I think we can all agree that not only Todd Downing, but Rob Moore, they're gonna have their hands full this year.
Yeah.
They've got to coach better than they've ever coached before, because like we talked about the wide receiver room on the first week of this position breakdown. You got Robert Woods, and then you got NWI, then who else you got? Right? You got Burks. He's a rookie. We don't know what he's gonna do just yet. We hope he's going to be successful. We had Kyle Phillips. He's a good route runner, great feet. That's at the college level. Can he do that in the NFL? And so these guys are going to have to really make their hay this year coaching. And one thing I like about Haskins, guys, and I know y'all know this, but he's played linebacker. He first went to Michigan. He was a linebacker. And so, he credits that to being able to see holes better and to see rushing lanes. And so, he's a tough football player. And we already know that because of that. His first game, his first collegiate start he had 20 carries for 149 yards. And that was against Notre Dame. And so, he's a tough guy. Like you said, G. Wood, he's not fleet of foot, but he can run between the tackles. He had 270 carries last year with 1327 total and 20 touchdowns, 18 receptions. To your point, G-Wit, about his hands, he's got some pretty decent hands, so he can do some things in the passing game as well. First team running back in 2021 All Big Ten, and so he brings a lot to the table. And so, like you said, J. Lou, we got a mini version of Derrick Henry, so to speak, and so another tough running back where we won't miss a beat. And I think that all goes back to, like you said, Jay Lee, goes back to last season. We had Deontay Foreman, and he was running between the Tigers and running pretty tough. And so, you got somebody that can spell Derrick Henry. Deontay here, we know what he can do. He's got some game-breaking speed.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that against New England. He had that long touchdown run. And, if he could just hold on to the football just a little bit more, right?
I would say that game taught him. You saw him and Foreman learn from that game as far as hanging on to the ball. I don't think they really had another fumble after that game. They pretty much
did a good job.
They were like my boy Stonehands and Necessary Roughness. The ball is my friend, and I'm not letting them go.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting to see how this running back crew works out. They let our boy Blasingame go. I hate to see him go, but they still got your boy Carter coming back. And we're going to see how much he improves on his blocking. And also because he's more like a nation back type of guy and everything. Then it's just a matter of who's gonna do something between the undrafted free agent and the two vets we signed.
Right.
Who's gonna do something with that? Because all three of those got to make it as special teamers. That's gonna be the bottom line for each one of them. And Julius Chestnut is the only undrafted free agent, so he might be on the practice squad for most of the season or whatever the case may be. You never know.
You're right. Trent Cannon, he's been a particular special team guy his whole career in the league. That's right. Yeah. And Jordan Wilkins, you mentioned him being a special teams guy. And so, a lot of guys that don't have a lot of in-game experience as far as coming out of the backfield. But, like you said, they'll contribute to the special team side if they make this team. And so Will says he being Derrick Henry could have an AP season when he comes back from injury and get the MVP. He could, man. We'll see. I really think if he does that 15 to 1,600 yards, the Titans win 12, 13 games, and right there again in the mix of the playoffs like they were last season, had that 300, and he has that 350 yards receiving. I think he is going to be considered, MVP in the MVP talks. Will also says, he said, just when he gave up drinking, you bring back that Cincinnati game.
Hey, you gotta call it like it.
Rodney says, let me go ahead and fill his cup up because he's going to be another stressful season. So of course, Rodney, if you've been a Titans fan as long as they've been here, man, you already know you got to take your heart medicine before you go to the game or watch the game on TV.
The game.
And during the game. Right.
So. Liquor sales go up when the Titans play, man, because they're either celebrating or drowning the sorrows, one of the two.
And so, as we wrap this one up, my guys, it's going to be interesting that in that locker room, can Tannehill return to form this season that he had in 2020 and 2019? Can he get back to that play? And like G Wiz said, it's all based upon Downing's ability to mix in the play action, right? The play calling, the bootlegs. Every time we thought he should have had a bootleg last season, it wasn't.
We didn't do it.
Right, right. And so it's really going to be interesting to see, will we see Vrabel making a change midway through the season as offensive coordinator? Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I will say this now, and looking at this situation, it's set for that to happen.
You're right. You're exactly right.
If that offense is struggling by the time they get to the break, the bye, we might see a new OC, and he's probably already on the staff.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And J. Lou, we talk about what Tim Kelly did in Houston, man. And I know Davis Mills, he wasn't a highly touted guy coming in the NFL, but man, he had him looking like he was a pro, at least against when they played us.
There's a reason
looking like a Pro Bowler.
There's a reason Houston didn't sign no quarterback.
They
rolling with him. So I mean, it's something to be said there. I think G Witt talked about, y'all both brought up a great point about opening the running lanes and getting the 10 out of box. I think if we can have 135 5-yard receptions between Hooper, the tight ends, and Kyle Phillips, I think that breaks the box open.
Yeah,
just 135 5-yard receptions. I'm not talking about going deep, just the 5-yard receptions.
Yeah,
that will open that box more than I think some folks know, and I think you'll see the running lanes, because again, you just need you've got to find a way for the defenses. Right now, there's not a defense in the league that respects our passing game.
Oh, no.
Zero. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
No.
And that's the way you do it. You get them to back up, and again, I think if you see that number, because that's tight ends, and I think that's play action in post. That's him checking down and using them, and I think you start seeing it, spread open a little bit more. So that's something I'm looking forward to. If we can get 135 between them tight ends and the slot receivers of just 5-yard receptions, I think we're on to something with the. I think that Downing's been listening to the show and has managed to change the offense.
That's a doggone sure.
Yeah,
because the bottom line is, man, again, it's hard for a Tiger to change his stripes, man. So I don't know. I'm waiting to see how it's going to. But obviously we know one thing: the offense took a giant step backwards last year. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows it. So, and to his credit, he even said the same thing. In his first press conference, he even said the same thing. He got to improve on what he's doing, and he's got to get a better feel for the game. So, yeah, I mean, it's no different. All the coaches on the staff have got to prove their mettle this year, because again, we let some talent get out of here. Let's just be real about it. Tony Dews is going to do something with that running back room, because he knows Derrick Henry can't be the only one. So, he's got work with Hassan Haskins and Dontrell Hilliard and whoever else comes through the door. But also, like we said, Pat Sullivan's got his work cut out for him, because one, you got to have Tannehill better. Two, you got to make sure Logan Woodside is ready to step in.
That's right.
In addition to teaching Malik Willis how to throw the ball. And I shouldn't say it like that. That makes it look like he has nothing. But no, we understand. He just got to change, work on his mechanics and get him used to the NFL game. And like you said, he played at Liberty. He didn't play in the SEC. So the talent level is going to be a severe jump for him. Now, he's a competitor. Let's be real about it. He's a competitor. So we're just going to see what's going to happen. But yeah, definitely this coaching staff. Rob Moore's got his work cut out for him. Let's be honest about it. You lose A.J. Brown, man, that's a threat. A.J. Brown drew double teams.
Yes.
So, you knew they couldn't put any more than 9 men in the box.
Right.
And now you don't have that threat. And until you can prove you got somebody who's going to require somebody to make sure they guard them, it is what it is.
It is what it is. And I'm going to go back to what Taylor said. He made a comment which was spot on. He said the defense can excel at taking the ball away. Turnovers, short field, that's going to help this offense tremendously, right? And the defense has talked about that throughout the offseason in OTAs. We got to create more turnovers. Vrabel even said it in his wrap-up press conference at the end of last season. The defense has got to get more turnovers. Yeah, it's good to have 9, 11 sacks in a game. But if you're not getting the turnovers to put your offense in a scoring position, off or not, it doesn't happen, right? It doesn't work. And so they got to get better at turning the ball over. And if they can create those short field, those opportunities to get the ball in the hands of the offense a little bit more, I think they could be successful. So, fellas, that wraps up with the position breakdown. Hey, it's training camp time. 9 more days, G-Wit, 9 more days. It's going to be time for the Titans to open up camp. And we appreciate y'all rocking with us all these weeks, man, leading up to the training camp. Of course, we're going to have our training camp shows. And like I said last week, doing our recorded show, thank you for viewing that show as well for us. You might see a few faces out there. You might know somebody at training camp, right?
You might.
But join us, man. We'll be back once training camp start to bring you the info and talk about what's happening down there. And hopefully, we'll be saying, hey, Tannehill's not throwing interceptions, he's throwing touchdowns. And the receivers are playing well against this top-notch defense. But this is what I want to hear. Well, I don't want to hear this. I want to see it. I want to see Caleb Farley in the preseason. I want to see him. Me
too.
I want to see when he's fully healthy, which they've been saying he is, and how great a shape he's in, and all that. I want to see him in the preseason. So I can't wait. It can't get here fast enough for me. Live action.
Yeah. This preseason is probably one of the most important ones we've had in a while, man.
Yeah.
Because you got so many key positions that need to show up.
Right.
That this preseason is going to make a big difference. So it's going to be interesting to see how all things work out with the O-line, with the DBs, with the running backs, with the receivers. It's a lot of work that has to be done in order to have a competitive team, especially with the schedule that we got. We're going to be able to score on offense, bottom line. You got to be able to score on offense because we're going to get some offensive juggernauts, man, quarterbacks who know how to get the ball in the end zone. So it's going to be interesting to watch and interesting to see how this preseason goes.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all joining us tonight. Thank you for the comments, the questions. Join us next time. We back, man. Training camp is on its way. This is Eddie Arnell, G-Wit, J. Louie, our halftime adjustments. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. We are out of here. Peace.